7 years younger. But of course, I had to go to the Hanover before the British intelligence. And they drove me crazy. They didn't believe me at all. I mean, after it was 25 and 18, a big difference. Even the way I would look then. I thought I was short haircut, all sorts to make me younger. And when were you born? Well, and how many lessons, how many years schooling did you have? Because we started at 7. And I knew about it, what they were going to ask me. So I worked it all out. Have a cigarette? No, I don't smoke, I'm too young. Have chocolates? Yes. Thank you, I said, right. But first they said to me, you speak English? I said, no. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Yeah. I felt fine. He would speak German, and I would speak English. We get on fine. And with young officers, they started perfect German. Absolutely perfect. Not a single fault in. In fact, I found out that mine was bad. I realized that I don't know the language, but they started, yeah. Anyway, they said, all right, they didn't say anything to me, which they wouldn't, one way or the other. I come back and said, this Canadian woman, I went down. I said, fine. One day, or maybe 3-4 weeks later, she gets a letter from the Allied head office in Berlin that they want more evidence that I'm Mendel and I'm of that age. They weren't too sure that they knew there's something wrong. They thought, well, maybe I'm a Nazi, which could have been quite easy. If I would be a good actor, as easy as anything. So she calls me into this store office, this Canadian woman. He says, now we're in trouble. She says, but what she's worried, I would spoil it for all the rest, because nobody who she sent over here was under 18. I says, but look, I told you my age. I didn't hide anything from you. Oh, she doesn't blame me. But what am I going to do now? Then she says to me, I'll tell you what. I should write out in German that I, Mendel Bielawski, state that I'm this and this age, my mother's name, father's name, where I was born. And I should go with that to the headquarters of the UNRWA, which in the control of Bergen-Belsen, the whole district there. And if the UNRWA, the one in chief of the UNRWA office there will put a stamp, this will probably do the trick. So, all right, so go there. Large room, twice the length of this here. Big executive type table. And a man with a big moustache, a little fella. And I could tell he's Yiddish, he's Jewish. I could tell somebody. This is from London, a London Cockney. Smoking his pipe in his typical RAF type moustache. He says, what do you want me to do? I said, just put a stamp on. Is that all? I said, yes. I said, spoke good German. Is that all? I said, yes. I don't know that this is you, what you say here. I said, but I'm telling you. And I said to him, are you worried about my age? Age, name, but the age most. I said, how do I know? I've got no documents. I said, go to Poland, see if there's any documents left. What can I do? And he walks up and down, puffing away that pipe. He said to me, are you that age? I said, yes. I said, look, you were Yiddish, aren't you? He says, yes. I said, did you have a bris? He says, yes. I said, I had one as well. I wasn't at your bris. You were not at my bris. So therefore, you've just got to believe me. I said, you've got to believe me. I said, that's it. He said, again, I couldn't care if I come to go to the college. What is not? Because I could have gone anywhere really in the world. All I had to do is register myself with UNRWA where I want to go, and I wait for the quota, and I go there. No problem. So, this is. He comes back, takes the stamp, puts the stamp on, and instead of saying with Mazel, he says Mazel Tov. He said, he says, well, I said, right, thank you very much. She comes with him. I went back, gave it to this Canadian woman. Fine. And within a few weeks, I got all the UNRWA papers, free, everything, free transport, a lot, all the way to London. And I came here. My relative is Freeland arranged for somebody to meet me at 6 o'clock. Where would I come? At Victoria Station to the Waterloo from Dover.
Waterloo, I think.
Waterloo, from, yeah. Came to the station. But did I know which train? When I came to Dover, I didn't have a clue where it is, which train goes where. Anyway, I missed that train. I arrived at 10 o'clock at night. For a change, it was raining. And fella said to me, the policeman comes up, I stand with him, I had a cap and a briefcase and just a suit, nothing else. Policeman comes and says to me, he talks, I don't understand the word. He took me in the station master's office. He talks, I don't understand it. He says to me, Jewish? Yes, he phoned the Jewish refugee committee and told them, because whatever I stuff that had the envelope with all the papers, I gave it him. They told him. So they said, right, put him in a taxi, send him here. It was already 11 o'clock at night, and we will pay for the taxi. I said, fine, taking them. I remember like today, he must have passed from the Waterloo station to wherever the refugee committee was, past Buckingham Palace, and he said, here, King Palace, like a big tourist. Yeah. So anyway, the following day, they phoned up my relation in Manchester, and they told them that I'm there, and what train they would put me on, and when the train would arrive. And they gave me, they typed out a note with the address, and in case nobody's there, so they gave me 10 shillings. They showed me this is 6pence, this is a shilling, this is 2 shillings, and this is 2 and 6, made up 10 shillings. Yeah. And I'm pleased to say that's the only money anybody's ever given me in England. I came and to Manchester, so they were there, and I had already a dictionary, Polish, English, and a lot of the boys came back the way it became the mob. They came back, the train was full, and they were waiting for me at the station, this Favish Freeland and his father, an old man with a beard like this, and he took me home, but not to his home, but to his parents' home. And I must say, soon as I entered that house, I felt, is this where I finished up? An old woman, a man with a beard up to here. And yeah, I didn't know, I felt I was tired, so after a few days I realized I've got to say my prayers 3 times a day. So that's not for a Yiddish boy like me. It wasn't my scene at all. And I was very disillusioned, very disappointed. When I wanted to talk to people and told them what happened, then I felt to come here, people want to know. Because I remembered with the last breath when I was lying on the bunk, I felt, right, 2 aims, if I do survive, is to have a loaf of bread, eat as much as I want, and tell the world what happened to me. And here I come, people, they're just not interested to know. They didn't want to know. Talk to them, well, we had rations, we had the Blitz, well, let's have a nice cup of tea. Yeah. I was on my way back, I would say. Yeah. Disappointed that this Harvest friend lived in a beautiful home, modern home with young children, and he puts me here with these old people. They were good to me, wasn't short of anything, but it wasn't for me. It was hard. Yeah. I remember the first, I arrived here a few days before Rosh Hashanah in 46, a Yom Kippur, when I went to shul for Yizkor, and I sat with the old man. Actually, I broke down, and he was terribly upset. He says, must not cry. Like to him, this is how God wanted, and that's how it's got to be. It had to happen. And he lost all his family in Poland. A big family he had there, but it doesn't matter. This is how the mentality went. A man already getting for 80. But he was, no, must not. Anyway, I found out I had another relation in Manchester, which I never had before. Another cousin of my mother. Anyway, this auntie, Friedland, she took me around there. Another relation. So, anyway, then after a week or 2 weeks, I don't know, in a very short time, there was a little girl, found out it was the granddaughter, in a little red coat, with rather skinny legs. And she looks a nice young lady. And that was the granddaughter of this newly found cousin. And she took care of me. I wouldn't say we started on it. She took care of me to take me there and try to explain to me, show me, treated me to cinema, which I didn't know when it began, when it ended, when I was tired. So I said, let's go. And she, like a lady, young lady, a typical English young lady, she went. But once, twice, 3 times they did that. And her grandmother spoke a good Yiddish, because she came from Sambolna, born there. She says, well, Ma is very annoyed, she's very upset. Why? What have I done to her? Or what haven't I done to her? I don't know, what is it? She says, she treats you to the cinema, and you walk out in the middle. I said, what are you talking? You know, I didn't realize that it was continuous all the time. I went in, I didn't understand a thing what it was all about. When I got fed up, I said, should we go out? And she said, okay. And we compromised then. I said, right, we tell Mary that she should tell me when we go out. And anyway, she finished up my wife.
Right.
Yeah. And there were 3 children, they're all married.
What are their names?
The children, Stephen, Simon, and Tanya. My daughter, I feel very proud of her. She's taking a very, very, my son, I feel proud of him as well. One lives in London here, but the one who lives in Manchester, I feel proud of him as well. But she is taking a very, very active part in the second generation, which I'm the founder of them. I brought them together 2 or 3 years ago, and they're all grown up. I mean, we're very fortunate. Most of our children, they're clever, they're intelligent children. I would say 75% of them have got university education.
You're talking about the 45A Society?
The children of the 45.
Yes.
Yeah, which are becoming now the second generation.
Yes.
And they're very active in the community, and they're very, very good. And it's through them we got in touch with different schools. We go around now, and she's a very active part, and we're very proud of her.
At what stage did you tell them your experiences?
I didn't tell them. My daughter mainly wanted to know. She was the first one really to ask. She wanted to know, and still asks.
When she was how old did she start?
Not very old, 10, 12. Yeah. My son, he will listen, but he's the type that he feels, well, maybe it will hurt me if I talk to him, so he wouldn't do that to me. The one in London, I think he's become already part of the big capital, is indifferent.
Right. Is your son right? I mean, does it hurt you to talk about
it? Yes and no. It upsets me, but in the same time, I feel great sort of satisfaction that at last somebody's listening to me, that I say when the time comes for me to go, I didn't take everything with me. I left something behind me, which I feel is important. Because I would hate to see that we leave it all to historians, and for them to do the research the way they see it. That's why I'm here. Otherwise, I've done already tapes, I've got my written testimony, I've done it. But when I see, all right, where it's going to go, who's going to get hold of it, I feel it's important. I just don't trust historians. I hope none of your stories, I know. But the story he writes, he approaches the people he feels. That even goes for, which is great, I would full credit for him to, our president now, Martin
Martin
Gilbert.
Gilbert.
Yes, yes. I mean, thank God we got men like him. But without us, we still got to leave it to him, how he sees it. I mean, I asked Martin Gilbert when he wrote the last book, The Holocaust. I was with him in Manchester, because I was very involved in Zionist movement in Manchester. Fortunately, I had to get in, which is I've got a great satisfaction that I managed to do for our country my bit. I was the chairman from 1972 to 1982 for the JNF. Involved with the Zionist movement, JPA, JIA, whatever it is, from a very young age. I mean, I went to a first banquet when Golda Meir came in Manchester. Was in 1952 it will be, by relation, his father's friend, who was a great Zionist, very great Zionist, and very, very highly rated man in British Jewry in his days. Great man. And he said to me, do you want to go to listen to Golda Meir? So I said, yes, definitely. He took me there. And people offered so-and-so, so-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, 1,000 Mr. So-and-so, £20. I said to him at the end, I said, Favish, I want to give £25. He said, but you can't afford it. I said, it doesn't matter, I manage. And I did give. Which for me, £25 in 1952, it was probably as much as for this Favish Freeland, £2,500.
What business did you go into?
Started off, when I came to Manchester, I went to work for a watchmaker. I remember the name, Meyer Farber. Got £2, 10 shillings a week, but I hated it. But again, it's an experience. When I worked for him was in Cheetham Hill in Manchester. It was during the time when the 3 officers were shot by the Israelis, still in Palestine. And then they came there in just the right street, Cheetham Hill, a Jewish area, and started smashing windows. You can imagine how I felt. But in the same time, I looked around and see within minutes the police were there. Within a half an hour or so, they had people putting new windows in, and they paid for it as well. So I said, I've come to the right people. Yeah. In one way, I was terrified. And then, see, this happened. It was amazing for me. I'll never forget that.
Why is it you didn't think about going to Israel?
I looked for relation. First experience of the ghetto and so on, I wasn't too sure. But I should go, because after there was no, you couldn't, when I came here, you couldn't go to Palestine. Couldn't go to Palestine in 1948, 2 years after. And then, after being around since May 45 until September 46, and I realized that I have nobody left. I haven't got anybody, not even a distant cousin or anyone, nobody at all. And I was resigned already that there's nobody there. And here I had, well, I've got a bit of a relation here. And that was one of the main reasons to come here. I mean, I still was hoping, I knew, mother, father, I knew, I forgot it. Right. Before I came here, September 46, I made my mind up, they're not around. My younger sister, I was still looking each time when I picked the Jewish Chronicle or in Israel, the Jerusalem Post, anybody who put an announcement looking for relatives and so on, the first thing I would do it, I was hoping I would see Rachel Bielawska. But about 4 or 5 years ago, I wrote to the Red Cross, gave them all the details, and only the beginning of this year, I got a note from them. Rachel Bielawska, the date of birth, arrived in Auschwitz the 10th of August from Litzmannstadt ghetto, left the 18th of Auschwitz to Stutthof, the number she had in Stutthof, and that was it, no more. And I wish I wouldn't have done it. I would still sort of live in hope. I wish I wouldn't have done it, because I know what the end was in Stutthof. It's either they left within a day or two for work somewhere, or drowned in the Baltic Sea. See, this was the end. So I know now that there's no point even looking. But at least if I didn't know, but on the other hand, if I wouldn't inquire, I'm also wrong. So
We've only got a few minutes left. Is there anything more you'd like to tell us? Anything we've left out, or?
in Manchester, I must say, I enjoyed my time in Manchester. I got involved, at least I think I'm well respected, well thought of in the community. I mean, there's very few people you come across who say, do you know Mendel Beale? Who say, I don't. I would say at least 4 out of 5 who say yes. And only for what I've achieved, what I've done, I'm glad that I managed, I had the chance to do what I have done for our country. Because I always say, I ask many times in my dealings, my business, I was asked by the other occasion by some very good, which I made through business with non-Jewish people, very good friends, and I was asked, how can I divide the loyalty? They knew my loyalty to Israel. How can I divide the loyalty? How do you do it? And in the same time, they knew how highly I speak of this country, how I respect this country and the people. I said to him, one in particular from Birmingham, a buyer for a large warehouse, I said, Mr. Aitken, my loyalty is England. I came here, I met my wife. England, I've got my wife. But Israel is my mother. I said, one always goes back to her mother. It doesn't matter where you live, go back. And that's how I see it, how it passed. But I wrote it in my testimony. I finished off that way, that I wouldn't like my children or grandchildren any time to feel sorry for me. No. I'm here, I look at it, all right. I mean, when you read the history of the last, say, almost 2,000 years of our history in exile, we always had, never this mass destruction, but we always have had to see it. So I'm just a witness to another chapter. And that's how I resigned to that. Right? And it had to be. And again, fortunately, I've seen so much in my time. I'm 70 years of age. I mean, what we went through, seen a state which to me, it is the living memorial to our people. The state, actually, is that which I argued with many. One is the writer Litvinov. A few years ago, I argued with him in Manchester, because he wrote about the state of Israel. And he said, because of the 6 million Jews who have a state. I said, Mr. Litvinov, I don't agree with you. Because of people like me being in the P camps after the war, we became an embarrassment to the world. And that is the reason why we have a state. As far as our parents, the state is our memorial, a living memorial. There's a living memorial for us. But we created the state. And then still we wouldn't have it, but the chairman who was at the evening said, no, it's Sydney Hamburg. And he says, I must agree with Mendel. I can see his point. I said, well, no, because when the United Nations organized the commission to come and question, because, Truman wanted Bevan to take in to Palestine 100,000 Jews, which will clear out all the DP camps. And Bevan, fortunately, Bevan was the biggest anti-Semite in post-war history. And it was good, fortunate for us. Because if you'd have said yes, we wouldn't have a state. But he said no. And what was his answer? He says, Truman wants him to take us into Palestine, otherwise we'll come to New York. And immediately, the Jewish agency really went after the United Nations, and they sent a commission, which I've seen almost every one of the old leaders, whether it's in Philadelphia or in Bergen-Belsen, and the Jews were prepared. They came, the commission came, says, why are you here? Nowhere to go. Where do you want to go? To Palestine. Why to Palestine? This is our land. See? And that's how in November 1947 we got the resolution what we did get in the United Nations. So really we are the creators. See? There's two things. One, I always say that I don't need to wait for messiahs to come. We witness messiahs. It's the Trias Amazing. You know what it is? The redemption of the, when the Messiah comes, right? We came from the dead. Because we're all sentenced to death. Yeah? Everyone. Whoever you interview, you'll find everyone didn't expect. So I witnessed it, though. I witnessed the times of Messiah, yes. And we've got the land. And then that's how I see it.
I'm afraid we've got to finish there, but I think that's a suitable point to end. I want to thank you on both behalves for coming. It's been a real privilege to talk to you.
I won't say it was a pleasure, but I would say I felt I carried out another duty of mine.
Good. Good. Thanks very much.